So, yeah, thank you. Good evening, everyone. Sorry for the delay. Hello, can you hear me? Oh, thank you. Sorry for the delay. We had trouble getting a minion. In fact, we have to rethink the whole. Only got 1 week left. Yeah. Right. Shimon Zalman Auerbach used to say a story. I used to love the story. I don't know why. There was somebody called David Beiran who lived in Yerushalayim. Very famous in Yerushalayim, huge tzaddik. So Zalman said he once came to Mikvah on the Shabbos, and he saw David Beiran sitting there, and the fellow looked like he was about to faint. So he asked him, "Are you okay?" So he said, "No, he's not feeling well." He said, "What can I do for you?" He said, "What happened was," I really like this story. Somebody said went into the mikvah and said, "Hi, Svi Gehenim." He says, "Hot as Gehenim this mikvah." And this was David Beiran, who was a big tzaddik. He said, when the person mentioned Gehenim, I suddenly had a picture in my mind of what it's going to be like when I go to Gehenim. They made me so ill that I had to sit down by the side of the mikvah and still trying to recover. I was thinking today when it's very, very hot, because I'll say this is nothing like. It's supposed to remind us that we have to try our best to avoid the heat. No. It's always enjoyed it, yes. We're up to Daf Kuf Yud Beis Amud Aleph, halfway down. Actually, I'll say a third of the way down. We're up to Yomi Avikozer. I don't know if this is, but there's this little Aleph there. We're doing the halachas of tying the knots, specifically tying knots in shoes. And now we've moved on a little bit to the halachas of shoes altogether. The Gemara tells us as follows, a story. Rabbi Yirmiyah walked behind the Ravo in a Carmelis. What's a Carmelis? The Carmelis is an area which one's not allowed to carry midrabon. Ifsek lay the sandali. His strap snapped, right? The strap holding onto his sandal snapped. So he asked me, what should he do? Take a moist reed which animals can eat. Since animals can eat it, it's not muktzah, but dry won't be muktzah. Wrap it around. You've got a shoe, the strap is broken. So if you've got a long blade of grass, you wrap it around the shoe on your foot, and then you can walk fine. The Chazon Ish has one of the big chumras of the Chazon Ish and Shabbos is an Hilchos Muktzah. We've discussed this a couple of times, but we'll discuss it more. Let's say you notice that your camera is lying on the floor, your smartphone. You're scared your child will pick it up and play with it. So Mishnah Berurah Lemaisa permits you to kick it underneath the bed. Right? Why? Why not kick it underneath the bed? Because it's tiltelele good for you. You're carrying it with your body. It's not a normal way of carrying it. So if you're allowed to. The Chazon Ish is one of the big chumras of the Chazon Ish. He says, no, how dare you, Chas v'sholom, that the holy het of tiltelele gufoi is only when it's needed for something else. The famous example of tiltelele gufoi is somebody who wants to go to bed, and on the bed there's straw, and the straw is muktzah. Let's say it's firewood straw, maybe the straw made for a fire. So Allah is allowed to lie down on it, even though you're moving it. And the answer is tiltelele gufoi. It says the Chazon Ish, you can't compare that to the case of kicking your phone underneath your bed. When you're lying down, your main kavanah is because you want to go to sleep. Here, your main kavanah is to save the muktzah. So the Chazon Ish holds, it's a big shine in the person who had to pass him. Chazon Ish holds, you're not allowed to kick. You're not allowed to kick your something underneath the bed, the computer or anything may be, on a day go for it. The Chazon Ish says, I'll prove it to you. Does anybody think of a proof? The Gemara here says that the shoe would be muktzah, been a problem. Says Chazon Ish, what's the problem? You should have kept kicking the shoe till he gets to an area where it's allowed to be moved around. Like, why can't you just kick the shoe, kick it underneath the bed, and keep it after Shabbos? Is a right that you're not allowed to kick something which is muktzah just to save it. Shavazam in Shuvas of Shlomo, he writes, there's no raya. And it's ancient Svar, he says, kicking a computer, kicking a phone is an unusual way of carrying. Kicking a shoe could very well be a normal way of moving a shoe. How do you move your shoe at night when you want to move face to face? some people kick it. And therefore you can't compare it to this other case. But it's a very fundamental machlokes. I'm not sure you're right. A phone you don't usually kick. But a shoe, if you want to move your shoe, how do you do it? Oh, so Shimzan says it's not want to kick it, so therefore you can't compare. It's a very sensitive machlokes. Come to it. Okay. The more carries on. Abai was in front of Rabbi Yosef. If the saw exactly the same story happened, this strap snapped. Only my avid leg. What should I do? You lost your shoe. You can never move it. There's another right chazanish. Why didn't you kick it? The answer is you've lost the shoe. Not like the Mishnah brought. So again, so Shema will say kicking will be a help. There it wasn't guarded. In Abai's case, the shoe would be guarded. And therefore he said leave it. And he's not going to lose it completely because after Shabbos he can come and fetch it. The Raiva, the Ritva, all very bothered with this Gemara because from a simple reading of this Gemara it sounds like that the reason of Yehuda permitted it was because of a hefsed. And in the mokim of a hefsed he permitted him to take this gemi. But they were showing him that for a hefsed we're not mate suri to Rabbanon. We're only mate shvus to shvus. What do you say? There's a muktzah over here. When you wrap the gemi around the shoe, you're going to touch the shoe, which is broken in this muktzah. So the Gemara says, survivor the maybe they will say, what's going on over here? You're not allowed to do muktzah for dvar hefsed. It's important to halacha. We only permit a shvus to shvus for a hefsed. For example, if you've got a very expensive wallet, you've got a lot of money in your wallet, and your wallet is muktzah, you're not allowed to move it to a normal carrying to save your money. You can do it through a different shvus to shvus, has to go to move it, or do it through shiur, etc. So they answer complicated terms, but it's pshat in the Gemara, so it's explained it as like this. In a Carmelis, since it's guarded, a person is not normal for a person to carry on. The Carmelis way it's not guarded. So Carmelis is not guarded. When the strap snaps, a person doesn't say to himself, well, that's the end of my shoe, I leave it here. Rather, a person decides, I'll carry on wearing it in an unusual manner. But in a private house, where the shoe is anyway guarded, once the strap snaps, the person thinks to himself, you know what, I leave it. That means because it's guarded, therefore a person's now not going to wear it. And that's why it becomes muktzah. In a calmness where it's not guarded, so therefore a person decides to wear it, so it doesn't become muktzah. Now this shoe is still usable. Why? We explain this very briefly, and it's going to be a long sugya here. When you've got a shoe, the inside of the shoe, if it snaps, people don't mind. Why do people not mind? Because nobody can see a hole there. You can't see. If you're walking, the inside of the shoe is not noticeable to people. The outside of the shoe is. The Gemara over here understood that when the strap snapped, the outside strap snapped. Says the Gemara that what's wrong with this shoe? You can still use it. Why can you use it? By moving it from the right to the left leg or from the left to the right. Any shoe, I should have bought a shoe. Right, a simple flat piece of leather with a strap over it. If the inside gets cut, people can't use it because at the end of the day they don't care that people can't see it. The outside people won't. But if you can move it to the other leg, the outside then becomes the inside. That's the reality. I passed with that person though. Who's your colleague? Yeah? Oh, you got a shoe. I'm scared I'll have to wash my hands. But this is very good. I might still have to wash my hands. You have a pair of gloves. Oh, don't do it. You'll be the demonstrator. Yeah, here you've got a shoe, right? Oh, you've got it. Very good. So if there would get a cut, and then you move it to your other leg, so then it'll be on the outside. So if that's it'll be on the inside. If that's it will be on. That which is on the outside, you move it to the other shoe, gets onto the inside. It's not a problem. That's the goal. That's that kind of shoe. That's the exact shoe. Try if your hands on the table just in case. So now the Gemara discusses at great length this particular question. I'm going to say the question once more. It's machlokes tanoim. When a shoe has a strap that snaps, and now the only way to wear it is to move it from the right leg to the left leg, is it still considered a shoe? Or do we say, no, it's not a shoe anymore? Why is it not a shoe? Because since it is now the way it's meant to be on the right leg, cannot be worn, so therefore it's no longer usable. And this is what the Gemara discusses. Since Rabbi Yochanan explains Rabbi Yehuda's shitta, Shema min halacha Rabbi Yehuda. Mahi, the Tanya. Sandal, a sandal. What's a good word for English sandal? A sandal. No, is that what they call it in English? That's something they call sandalim. A sandal. Shenifseku shtei oznov. Its ears or its flaps. A shoe, the way they used to do it is they used to have big straps on the side and then flaps, so not flaps. And over the flaps, there would be straps to tie the flaps down. Or the two straps, or the sole is missing toy. A shoe which is missing both straps, or the whole sole of the shoe, it is toy. Why is it toy? Why is it toy? Because it's no longer usable as a shoe. And anything which is not usable anymore as an item of clothing is toy. If you've got a shoe and it's missing the sole of the shoe, you can't wear it. You can't wear it, it's not a shoe, it's not a shoe, it's not a keli. And something which is not a keli is not metkabel, is not tommy. But what happens if only achas me'oznam, one of the flaps, achas mitas yosef, one of the straps, only most of the sole tommy. A person can still wear a shoe if most of the sole is missing, right? It's not comfortable, he can still use it. The inside is just tummy. Why? Because Rabbi Yehuda holds that you can always use a shoe as long as the only one part of it is. According to Tanei Kama, when only one strap is cut, you can still use it. If the inside strap is cut, you'll use it as it is. If it's the outside, you'll just swap legs. According to Rabbi Yehuda, he holds that you don't swap legs. We don't say that the shoe is usable because you potentially can swap it to a different leg. And the Gemara says, the same question regarding if a shoe is still usable regarding Tumah, we'll make an afkimina regarding Shabbos, whether it's muktzah. There's a special halacha. Man dies without children. He has to do, his brother has to do yibum. If he doesn't want to do yibum, to do chalitza. By the chalitza, one of the important processes is that the woman that he could potentially marry takes off his shoe. So the question of a shoe which is missing one of the straps, can you use it for chalitza? But we asked the following question. Who was Rabbi Yochanan speaking about when he said that they argue that means the halacha is true for Shabbos and for Tumah, but the halacha is not true for Chalitza? And he explains, now he explains. Since regarding Tumah, it's considered a proper keli. As we said, if only one strap snaps, you can still use it. Regarding Shabbos, it's also a keli, it's not muktzah. But for chalitza, it's no good. It's not. There's ever before a Mishnah. No. How do you turn it off? Right. The Mishnah says explicitly that if a woman takes off the right shoe off the left leg of the man that she's supposed to be doing chalitza for, it's okay. If that's the case, so therefore if you've got a shoe where the outside strap snapped, and now the only way to wear it is to swap legs, regarding chalitza, certainly should be okay. Because the Mishnah says it's okay even to take off the shoe from the wrong leg. So over here, well, all you have to do is move the leg to the other one, it's fine. Right, those days, the sandals were obviously not like ours, where it's mamish made to fit exactly, where it's very hard for your left shoe on your right leg, etc. But in those days, it was possible. My children were little children, never get to learn how to put on the shoes, always somehow managed to put on the wrong foot. Regarding Tumah, it's not a keli. It's also not a keli. The monahu, it is a keli. Right? That's only when it's indeed a proper shoe. For its own purpose, meaning for its own leg. Rabbi Yehuda holds that when the shoe strap on the outside snaps, it's no longer a shoe. If it's no longer a shoe, how can you do chalitza with it? The Gemara says, the Brisa means Similarly for chalitza, meaning like this. Just like Rabbi Yehuda holds that a shoe missing a strap, it is toy if it's on the outside, because no longer will people wear it. So therefore it's toy from Tumah. It's muktzah legabe Shabbos, and at the same time you can't use it for chalitza. Says the Gemara, therefore, if a shoe snaps on one side, don't say to me I can use it for the other leg, because we pass like Rabbi Yehuda, and the Imam indeed passed like Rabbi Yehuda, that if you've got a shoe where the way it is at the moment can't be used, and if you put it on the other leg, it can be used, it's not considered a normal shoe. When do you say that if you take the shoe off the wrong leg, it's kosher, where it's actually a proper shoe? For its own sake, it's not a shoe, and therefore it's not considered a keli. We're going to summarize what we've learned. A shoe that's missing both straps, everybody agrees it's no longer a shoe, and therefore what's the din? 3 nafkiminas. If it's not a shoe, it's not Tommy. If it's not a shoe, it is muktzah on Shabbos, and if it's not a shoe, you can't use it for chalitza. Regarding a shoe which is only missing the inner strap, everybody agrees that it is a shoe. It's a shoe for Shabbos, meaning it's a keli. It's a shoe for Tumah, and it's a shoe for Chalitza. The machlokes of Yehuda and Chachamim is only in one case. We just said, missing 2 straps, everybody agrees it's not a shoe. Missing the inner strap, everybody agrees it is a shoe. Machlokes is only when it's missing the outer strap. According to the Chachamim, it's still a shoe. Why is it still a shoe? Because you can change legs. According to Rabbi Yehuda, it's not a shoe. Says the Gemara, and Rabbi Yochanan passed like who, like Rabbi Yehuda. It's not. Sandal shenifsiko achas me'ozno v'tikno tome medus. You have to miss out the brackets. There is a halacha of tmei medus. What's tmei medus? If a zov or a zova sits or leans or sleeps on a bed, that bed becomes av hatuma. Av hatuma. Similarly, if they use a shoe, the shoe becomes an av hatuma. Let me ask you a question, see what you say. When a shoe is no longer a shoe, it's not tummy, right? So if a zov is walking in a shoe, and the shoe becomes what? It's made medus avatuma, and both straps snap, what would the status of the shoe be now?
That's when it was. Was he walk? No, was he walking b'shas? It was a shoe.
Yeah.
Well, it should be Tommy because it was still a shoe when no.
You're right, that it was Tommy. But once it snaps both straps, it loses the status of a shoe, and therefore it's not Tommy. Because
it loses its Tommy? Even without tefillah?
Even without tefillah. It will have the tumah of magazov, touching of a zov, because touching a zov is even if it's not medus, but not avatum. Yeah. Now what happens, I'm asking like this, this is a complicated question, I just want to see if you got there. Let's say one strap snapped, and you fixed it, and the second strap snapped. Would you say that it is Tommy? Because at the end of the day, it was always a usable shoe. The whole time was a usable shoe. The first time when it snapped one, you still had one left. Then you fixed it, and the second one snapped, but now you can still use it. Or would you say it's Toy? What would you say? Well, everybody can shout out. When they're both broken, it's Toy. One broke, you fixed it, and then the second one broke. What would you say?
So does the tumor come back and say,
no. It never left. When did they leave?
When they're both broken.
No, not when they both broke. Again, one broke, one at a time. If one at a time and you didn't fix it, of course the tumor goes away. One at a time and then you fixed it. What would you say in logic?
Obviously, it would be.
Why?
Because it's usable.
So, the Gemara says, I'm happy you said it because it makes sense. The Gemara says the opposite later. But you hear his logic. His logic is true. That at the end of the day, the shoe is always usable. But why is the shoe usable? Because of the strap which you fixed. The other strap was broken. Meaning the original shoe is no longer usable as a shoe. And it's only because you fixed it. I'll tell you another example, because I'm going to come to the Gemara, going to go to it later, but sometimes if you hear the Gemara first, it's easier. This is a cup. If it would get a hole inside it, would it still be Tommy? Anybody remember this?
Obviously, I'm going to say no, because it's the opposite.
Oh, he said, right, how big is the hole? If it's only the size that olives can fall through, it's still Tommy, because at the end of the day, you can use it to store pomegranates. If pomegranates can fall through, then you chuck it. You don't keep it. If olives can fall out, you'll still keep it. You'll use it to store pomegranates. What happens if olives can fall through and you patch it. And then another, next to that, olive could fall through. Later, another hole came and you patch that. And then another olive falls out and then you can patch it. What would you say, Tommy or Toy? It's exactly like the shoe. And the Gemara says it's Toy. Why is it Toy? Because the original Keli would have by now pomegranates falling out because it's 3 times olives can fall out. That's the thing. So that original Keli is no longer usable. Okay, this is getting quite complicated. What? Yeah, if the holes are different parts, that's not the case. I'm talking about where the holes are adjacent to each other.
In the shoe case, some of the straps are going to be next to each other.
No, but the point is it doesn't make a difference because of the shoe there, because what spills it is that pomegranates can fall out. Here, the shoe's got 2 straps.
Yeah.
This strap snapped, and I fixed it. This strap snapped. That which creates tumah now is only because of what I did later. And then for the original shoe, it's like Ponim Chadoshes calls it. It's like a new shoe. The original shoe can't be tumah anymore. Okay. Oh, let's say a shoe snaps both sides, and you fix it. If a Zav would walk on it again, of course it'll become tumah. But the Zav which walked it before, and now the strap snapped, it doesn't make it tumah because that tumah is gone. It's a good way. We're up to the second line again. We're going to Sandal Shnifsiko Achas Nozav, one of the straps, the tick not Tommy Medras. It's still Tommy Medras. Why? Because you can still use it. My love, this other brackets, Lo Shnopnim, Lo Shnochitzeno. The Chayr means either the inside or the outside, which is like the Chachamim. Because according to Rabbi Yehuda, the outside strap, if it snaps, is no longer a shoe because people don't wear it. Only according to the Chachamim is it a shoe because you can swap legs. Look, Pedimis Dafka, V'chitzeno Maito, Yochi, Adatoni, Nifsiko, Shnio. This is the case I was talking about before the second one snapped. V'tikno, Toimina Medras. It's Tommy from Medras. I'm a Tommy Maga Medras. It's Tommy because the Medras and the Zov touched it. Niflik Bedidop, talk about the same case. Talk about this. If the Bryce one said it's the case of its toy, why talk about with the second strap snapped? Talk about with the one strap snapped. Only the outside strap snapped, and according to Rabbi Yehuda, that makes it toy. We're talking about a shoe that has 4 flaps and 4 straps. Imagine Crocs where they have not just like that Croc which you had, but rather it's got 2 sets of going across. So both sides, there's an ears going up, and then there's ropes tying the ears across. That's how it was. Yeah, like a strap with a buckle, 2 flaps, each of 4 flaps, and then ropes going across to tie it down. So here we're talking about what the second one was all on the inside. And that's why it's a tummy, because of the fact that, so when it's on the inside, it's still tummy, because at the end of the day, you can still use it. When it's on the outside, we're going to this Rabbi Yehuda that it is toy. Says the book, Yosef, Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda in aloch Rabbi Yehuda. If Rabbi Yehuda explains Rabbi Yehuda, you must hold like him. So I think more delves in this Nekudah I mentioned earlier, but if you've got the background, it's easier. Tanan awesome. Kol klei balabatim, cups that belong to private owners, Shiur and Kiyum. In order for it not to become tomei, the hole has to be the size of a pomegranate. If it's got a hole the size of an olive, and you block that up. And again, it makes another hole inside it, next to it, the size of an olive. And now you've got a hole where you don't have a hole the size of a pomegranate because every time you fixed it. Had you not bothered fixing it, there would now be a hole inside your cup the size which pomegranates can fall out. You taught it us. Sandal Shnifsiko Achas Nozav V'tikno Tomei Medus. Nifsiko Shniyov, if the second one snapped, V'tikno Tomei Medus Av Tomei Maga Medus. Well, we asked you, why, when the first one snapped, did we say it's still Tomei? Because you still got the second strap. We asked you the question, when you've got a shoe and one strap snapped, it's still Tomei. Why is it still Tomei? Because you've still got the other side. But then if that's the case, once you fix it, and then you do the other one, it should still be Torah because then it should still be Tomei because now you fix the other one. You fix it. You said it's a new item. It's a new item, so therefore it's not Tomei. And that is how we pass it. So again, if you've got a pot and it's got holes inside it, so as long as it can still pomegranates won't fall out, you'll use it. But if it's got a number of holes, and each time you've had to repair it, when it's got enough holes adjacent to each other, where had you not repaired it, pomegranates would fall out. So now it's no longer usable as a keli. No longer usable as a keli. So therefore, the fact that you can still use it is only because you fixed it. That fixing is a new pot, and therefore it's not Tomei. So therefore, it is not Tomei because the original pot does not have that tumor. That means, let's say, imagine that a mace person touches this cup to Moshe, yeah? A dead person touched the cup. And then another cup comes in the area. Of course, the other cup's not Tomei because he touched this cup, not that cup. So similarly, when you mend the first cup and you keep adding patches after patches, what's now usable is because of the patches. And that's considered a new keli. So therefore, it's not Tomei. You hear, Moshe? You agree now? So Gemara says like this. Not minat Torah, only with Rabbanon. With Rabbanon, they said the tumor does come back because otherwise people will not bother taking things to mikveh. They'll just break things and mend them. Because I didn't want that. It's not the same though. There it's got to do with the fact that once you put it back together, it's not like Goy made it, it's a Yid who made it. It's got to do with it. Here we talk about tumor. So the Gemara says that when he gave this answer, his Rebbe was so impressed, he said, the one who gave this answer, the one who argued to the Moshe, is so special, he's not a human being, he's a malach. A person who can give such an answer, that is a real human being, meaning that is someone that is truly living a life, because he's the one that can work such a thing out. Once we mention this, the Gemara says a similar statement. If previous generations were like malachim, anu b'nei anoshim were like humans. If previous generations were like human beings, anu kechamoivim were just like donkeys. Their donkeys were even greater than us, because what were their donkeys? Does anybody know the stories of their donkeys? One of them had a donkey stolen, and the donkey refused to eat, and the Ganovim brought it back to B'chidim. They said, we can't keep this donkey, it's a waste of time. Why didn't he eat? Because they hadn't taken too much amaisos. And similarly, Pinchas ben Yoel's donkey, that was a different story where he wouldn't eat because they hadn't taken too much amaisos from the food that they fed him. So the Gemara says over here, if a person appreciates the previous days like malachim, he's like humans. This is something, by the way, which is very interesting. Is that now, if you would stand up a basis soul and give a shiur and say, well, I'm going to tell you what Rashi holds, but I disagree with Rashi. Most people would laugh at you. Everybody would laugh at you. Because everybody is ingrained in our minds that Rashi, even if somebody would say, I want to argue with the Chofetz Chaim or the Chassan Sofer, people would laugh at you. And rightly so. Because we know that we can't do such a thing. That, unfortunately, even though it's ingrained in our generation, was not always ingrained. I've even seen books and svarim of people that felt that they could argue previous generations. And Chazon Ish writes about it in a few places. It's not something that could actually be proven necessarily by logical conclusions. Okay, let's say somebody would say to you, I think I'm just as great as the Chofetz Chaim. It's quite hard to say that. Okay, but let's say a person thinks he can. Can you prove to him that he's not able to? No. The Chazon Ish writes, it's part of the Mesorah of Torah, is the realization that we are not able to argue the previous generations. Just like we have to believe that Hashem gave the Torah to Moshe, etc. Part of the emunah of Torah is that we are unable to argue with previous generations. It's interesting because not many people, there are some people, I used to teach the Sameach, some people used to say, I don't like this Rashi, or I don't agree with this Rashi. And they actually felt like, if you read a book, a non-Jewish book, and you don't like something, you can say, I don't like it, I don't agree with it. Well, this is not something we could do. Go back to the Mishnah. The Mishnah tells us a variety of things that you are allowed to open. Certain knots you're allowed to. That is jugs leather jugs of wine and oil that you're allowed to open on Shabbos. Think about Pshita, of course you're allowed to. What, you're supposed to not drink on Shabbos? It has two flaps. That means you've got a jug like this, can you imagine? Big barrel, big leather jug. And it's got flap on one side, flap on the other. So when a person wants to pour himself a drink, he can untie one or untie the other. You'll always untie one and never use the other. No. That since it is normal to sometimes untie this one, sometimes untie that one, so therefore he's allowed to tie and untie them. It's not considered a permanent knot. Shabbos, a pot of meat, the same question, Pshita. It's got a spout. That since it's got a spout, he won't bother opening it. No, even though it's got a spout, people will still make the effort of opening up the knot and emptying the contents, and they won't rely only on the spout. Are you allowed to tie the ropes across the gate? Because if you've got a fence and you want the cow or the horse not to escape, you're allowed to tie ropes across. Think about Pshita, of course you're allowed to, because it's a very, it's not a permanent knot. You've got two knots. That means two ropes across. That one of the ropes you leave there and you never take away. That nevertheless, that we say that people actually will not leave the rope there. They'll eventually take it away, and therefore it's not considered a permanent knot. It means all these cases, even though there are two options to undo it, we had, if you remember previously yesterday, a woman that's got a cloak that you could untie from one side and untie it from the other side. That it's always mutter, because since the knots are not meant to be permanent, the fact that by mistake they might be permanent does not bother us. Rav Yosef taught us that you're allowed to make a rope across the gate to stop horses, across an opening to stop animals from escaping. The fact that you say halacha is the right of Yaakov argues, does he even argue? What difference does it make? If he doesn't argue, of course halacha is like him. And if they do argue, I'm telling you the halacha is like him anyway. Gemara is going to hey, learn the Gemara should be a song. You've got to know what's going on. That means just telling me the halacha without telling me whether they actually argue, he felt was incorrect. He wanted to know, do they argue or not? So we passed the lack of Lesben Yaakov. If one's got an opening, one's allowed to make a knot across to stop animals from escape. Says the next Mishnah, you're allowed to tie a bucket with a girdle. Why? Because since a person doesn't use a girdle normally to draw water, he's not going to leave it there forever. Right? Let's say you need a cup of water, you're very thirsty. So what you do is you want to go to the well and you need to lower it down. So you find you've got a belt from your house or a belt for your dressing gown or something, you're allowed to put it on because you're not going to leave it there. But not with a rope. Because if you put a rope there, you're going to leave it forever. Rav Yehuda permits it, and the more explains why. A knot that doesn't last forever, you're not chayav. You're not chayav for a knot that doesn't last forever, because at the end of the day, like we said in the previous Mishnah, the knots that they used to do in the Mishkan were knots which were permanent, and knot which is only temporary is not chayav. Says the Chever Demai, which kind of rope did Rav Yehuda and the Chachamim argue if you're allowed to tie it to your well, to the jug in the well? A normal rope. Why would Rav Yehuda allow you to tie a rope to a jug in the well? The knot's going to be there forever. We're talking about a rope which the weavers used to use. It was a certain kind of rope which would help in the weaving process. So therefore, a person is not going to leave it there forever. So if according to the Chachamim, so the Chachamim said it's forbidden. Why the work explains that we're supposed to be a bit outside. That here it's not like a girdle, which is significantly different from a rope. A rope, a person leaves by the well. A girdle, which was like a belt, a person not going to leave it there, eventually untie it. A rope, which a person needs for his weaving process, the Chachamim felt that if we allow you to use that kind of rope, people come to use other kinds of ropes. And they made exera one kind of rope to another kind of rope. So they said, if this rope is forbidden, that rope is forbidden. Rav Yehuda says, no, you're not going to leave the rope there. It's mutter. That means it's a question in gezeros to Rabbanon. You're taking a rope, which you normally need for your weaving process, and you're tying it now to your jug in your well. Rabbi Yehuda says you're not going to leave it there, so there's nothing wrong. The Chachamim say, wait a second, this is a rope. The fact is, it's a normal rope. You use it for other purposes. Therefore, we're scared that if we allow you this rope, you'll come to do a normal rope, and therefore we forbid this rope as well. Says the Gemara, remember the one something goes on Chevel the Gadi or Chevel the Alma. Does this come out? And the Chachamim make gezeres of a rope of a weaver to a normal rope. Rabbi Yehuda said, "Lo goes zinon." What happens if a person's got a jug in a well and the rope snaps? You're not allowed to tie it together. You've got a rope, it snaps in half. You're not allowed to tie the two snapped parts together. And you're allowed to make a bow. You can tie around it a money belt or a girdle, and that way the rope will stick together. If you've got two halves of a rope, you're not allowed to even make a bow. A girdle is not allowed to make a bow. But when you put the two parts together, either you take a third rope or a girdle and you tie it around the two separate snapped pieces, and that will stick them together, and you can use that to draw your water out of the well. So what do we see? And then you'll be not allowed to make a bow. So we see in our Mishnah we have Rabbi Yehuda's maker, and he says we don't make gezeres, and we allow you to use a rope of a weaver because we're not chayshash. You'll do other ropes, and the Chachamim are machmir. And over here, when it comes to making a bow, Rabbi Yehuda says you mustn't make a bow. Why are you not allowed to make a bow? Because you might end up making a knot. That's more things than having. And the Chachamim say you're allowed to make a bow, which means that over here we have a stira. Regarding a bow, Rabbi Yehuda is machmir, and he says, don't make a bow. But the Chachamim say, we don't care you're making a bow, there's nothing wrong. But regarding a rope which is used by the weaver for the weaving process, Rabbi Yehuda is make on the Chachamim. So what's going on over here? He says, well, kasha Rabbi Yehuda, kasha Rabbi Yehuda. It's a contradiction in Rabbi Yehuda, a contradiction in the Chachamim. Says the Gemara, kasha. It's not a true contradiction. Why? When it comes to ropes, if we allow you to use a normal rope to draw water from the well and to tie it to the jug, so then what happens is the fact that for you it's a weaver's rope and you are planning to take it away, that doesn't make it mutter. Why? Because somebody seeing you tying a normal rope will say, well, that's a rope, and one day he'll come to tie his own rope and think it's permitted. So therefore, a geyser, a rope, otter a rope. But a bow to a knot is not confused. Everybody knows the difference between a bow and a knot. So therefore, you can't compare. The Mishnah, where the machmir is referring to using a weaver's rope to a normal rope, that's a gzeira. But to make a gzeira from a bow to a rope, that they say not. What about Yehuda? Yehuda lo kasha. Hasam lo mishum demechlefo aniva b'kshiur. And aniva gufa kshiur. He holds that a bow is not because of a gzeira you might mix it up with a rope, with a knot. He holds the reason he's not allowed to make a bow because he holds that a bow itself is a real knot and it's awesome in Torah, not that it's a gezerah. Let's just summarize very briefly. Regarding tying a girdle to a jug in the well, to a bucket in the well, everybody agrees it's mutter because everybody knows you're not going to leave the girdle there, and therefore it's a temporary knot and it's okay. Regarding tying a weaver's rope, according to the Chachamim, it is forbidden because they say we make a gzeira from one rope to other ropes. If we allow you this rope, you'll do other ropes and you'll leave them there forever. Rabbi Yehuda permits it because he doesn't make up gzeiras. Regarding a bow, the Chachamim say it's okay. Why do the Chachamim say it's okay? Because they hold that a bow is not a knot, and there's no reason to make a gzeira from a bow to a knot because it's not mixable, it's not confusing. And therefore, the fact that some people, nobody will think to themselves, if I allow you to do a bow, they'll think, if that's the case, I'm also allowed to do a knot. And regarding Rabbi Yehuda holds, no, you're not allowed to do a bow because he holds that a bow is an actual kesher, it's a real knot, and therefore it's forbidden. So it comes out that by a bow, Rabbi Yehuda is machmir, and Chachamim are meiko. By a weaver's rope, Rabbi Chachamim are machmir, and Rabbi Yehuda is meiko. And it's not a stira because each one has a separate piece of logic. Rabbi Yehuda holds that we don't make gezeros, but a bow is a real knot, and therefore that's why a bow is forbidden, but a weaver's rope is okay. The Chachamim say a bow to a knot is not a gezerah, but one rope to another is a gezerah. Says the Gemara like this. Maybe a person out to bring a rope from his house. You can tie one end to the cow, and the other end to the trough. What's the chiddush? That you might, Rashi explains like this, that when you tie a rope to the trough and to the cow, what happens is there's a possibility that you'll end up one of the knots leaving on forever. Let's say you'll leave the knot on the cow and let the rope drag along, or you'll leave the knot tied to the trough and you let the cow loose. The answer is we're not chayshish, because at the end of the day, since you're not going to leave the cow by the trough forever, nobody leaves a cow tied to a trough forever. So you're going to undo it. So no chayshish, only do what? Chevel shebevos, a rope by the trough, kosher bepol, v'shebepol kosher bevos. Ubelvad shelo yovi chevel b'tich beisoi, v'yikshe bepol bevos. It says befush that you're not allowed to tie a rope to a cow and to the trough. You see clearly that you're allowed to do one knot, but not both knots. If it's already tied to the cow, you're allowed to tie it to the trough. If it's tied to the trough, you're allowed to tie it to the cow. But to tie it to both, everybody agrees it's awesome. As well says, also chevel dam. There we're talking about a normal rope, and therefore it's forbidden. Here we're talking about a weaver's rope. By a weaver's rope, people are more makeup, because at the end of the day, you're one day going to undo it, and therefore it is okay. Since we talked about a weaver's rope only regarding Hilchos Kshoim, now the Gemara talks a little bit about weaving. And unfortunately, without having a very clear picture of what a weaving process looked like, it is quite difficult to explain. But there were different sets of wood in the weaving process. There were the levers that would make a person. Yossi had a nice video. Maybe later, everybody wants to show, wants to see. Contact Yossi. Maybe you can put it on the WhatsApp group. Maybe. Or the video, maybe. It shows you the weaving process. But the point is that you have the levers that go up and down. You have the frames, and then you have the big beams that hold up the frames. So the Gemara says like this: you're allowed to carry them on Shabbos. Why? Because it's not a keli shemalach tedis. So that means the sticks which are used as levers to go up and down of the strings, those are not used only for that. And if it's a keli shemalach tedis, no, they're also used for other purposes, and you're allowed to. What about the big beams that hold up the entire frame of the weaving process? So he said, sometimes it would say yes, sometimes it would say no, and the matter was not clear. So sometimes it would say one, sometimes the other. Even the upper ones and the lower ones, that means even the frames that went up and down, also permitted. Why? Because at the end of the day, a person would use it. But the pillars that were used as foundation for the entire loom, that was forbidden. Why is it forbidden to move the pillars? When you move the pillars, they're so heavy, you're going to make holes in the ground. What's the issa making holes in the ground? Oh, so it's chayvish if it's outside, and it's boida if it's inside. That's what the Gemara said earlier, I don't know if you remember. Outside it's chayish because you're preparing for plowing. Inside is off. So the Gemara says, if the chashash is because you're making holes, kubus minikahavium, they happen by themselves, and since they happen by themselves, therefore there's no problem. Titanan, hatiman lefes v'tzninas tachas hagefen, a person who hides lefes is turnips and radishes. It's known as radishes. Tachas gefen underneath a vineyard. If some of the leaves are revealed and the above ground surface, there's no issa kilayim. That means like this: a person doesn't want to plant his radish; he just wants to store the radish. So what does he do with the radish? He sticks them inside the soil as a place to guard them. Now, when he sticks them inside the soil, there's a small chance they'll take root. But since some of the leaves are above ground level, therefore it's no problem of kilayim. There's no problem of planting on shviz because it's not considered planting. It doesn't need to take some maises again. When it's done in the Shabbos, and you're allowed to even take them out on Shabbos. Why? Because since when you pull them out, the actual radish, some of it is above ground level. So therefore you don't need to move the soil which is muktzah, therefore it's okay. Says the Gemara, that means when you move radishes out of a hole on Shabbos, we're not chayshish that after you take the radish out, you'll see there's a hole in the ground, you'll quickly come to fill it up and then be over on the chayshish. Why? Because a person doesn't care if there's little holes in the ground. But in a person's house, a person's very, very makbid. If we allow a person to move the big beams which hold up the loom, we're chayshish that after he moves the beams, what will happen? He'll see that where they were before was a hole in the ground. And then by moving it, he'll get disturbed by the hole in the ground and they'll quickly come and fill it in. And that's the Issa Boina, because it's making his house more useful, the floor of his house more usable. So that is why you're not allowed to move heavy beams inside the house, because there's going to be holes in the ground that you want to fill up. Or you're allowed to move them or not. My town, if you should in because they're so heavy, people don't move them around. Because people don't move them around, it's considered muktzah. The Chaznish learns from here very soon. And let's say you have a very big cupboard. Some people have like come into the house, big cloak cupboard. So what happens is, let's say it's got space underneath, and the child's playing with a bouncing ball, and it falls underneath the cupboard. Is there any problem with moving the cupboard to get the bouncing ball out? Most people say, no, what's the problem? At the end of the day, it's not muktzah. What muktzah is the cupboard? The cupboard is not muktzah. If you look at this last Rashi before the Mishnah, and people don't move them around because they're heavy, they're made to stay still and you're not allowed to move them. Chaznish holds, you're not allowed to move. We talked about grandfather clock. Nowadays, the grandfather clock is less common. If you generally have a grandfather clock, it's all gone out of fashion. But the Chaznish talks about it. A grandfather clock is one of these very big clocks. No, it's very big. And people were not, it's not like a watch where you walk around with. The grandfather clock was put in its place, and you didn't move it. Now, it's not be'etza muktzah. Nevertheless, unless it makes a noise, nevertheless, not allowed to move it on Shabbos. And now I have the question, do we start the next Mishnah or not? Anybody want to make a vote about it? Maybe looks a bit tired. What do you think? Do you think we should leave it? Yeah, okay, we'll stop here. Tomorrow's daf is a very, very light daf. Sure. Today's daf is pretty hard. Okay, we'll stop here. Well, so it's nice to start with a new Mishnah as well. Yeah. Any questions? How are you? Are you okay? Coping with the heat?
Yeah, Box, I'm fine. How are you? Yeah, we're good.
Yeah, actually with the heat, it's okay with you at home?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah, it's clear.
Yeah, Andrew, Levi, Yehuda, that's it. Somebody else, so Benny Light has come off. Okay, it's loch with everything. Have a good night. Okay.
Thank you.
All right, so if he comes, we don't need to.
Yeah.